before the event, we had the interview with Ding Liren where Wijk wrote a poem for him. But here, Alireza Firouzja, another candidate in this field, playing his fellow candidate, Vidit Gujrathi. And for those of you who may not recognize the terminology, the candidates is the tournament that decides who plays Ding Liren for the World Championship title.
Yeah, we'll of course recap all of them. I see 2 Queen's Gambit declines towards the right of our screen there, but yeah, my eyes are drawn towards the left. I'll leave it to you. Magsudlu against the Pomnishi is a Petrov. Vidit against Firouzja is an open Sicilian. But both looking pretty spicy. A lot of tension in both of those. And while we've got them on the camera, as Vidit leaves the board, should we go to Vidit against Firouzja?
That because Alireza Firouzja, he didn't want a Petrov, he didn't want any sort of symmetrical structure. He played c5 on move 1. So before we dive into the X's and O's at this point, David, do you think that Firouzja, half point behind Anish, probably still kicking himself about his loss to Jun, do you think he's playing for a win from the start? Like, is he going to test his opponents, suggesting that I really want to gain tournament victory?
Yeah, we can't blame him if that's the case. He's a confident man. Yes, there was one setback against Jun, but I mean, the last month, Robert, he's won more games than most players within a year. So Alireza, he's got to be feeling sharp. And we should mention as well that Vidit kind of traditionally wasn't an e4 player, or at least he was playing d4, c4, knight f3 quite a lot in his younger days, but most recently has switched towards these king pawn opening. So Alireza is sticking to his own kind of favoured opening by playing the open Sicilian, by playing the Najdorf, but he's also maybe arguing that he has more experience than the opponent. And either way, I love to see both players going for it. Vidit as well, on the other hand, on the flip side, all draws as we mentioned so far, he must be getting restless. Nobody wants to be known as the draw king, drawing all their games in an event. He wants to get that first victory, and nice to see both players seemingly playing for the win.
He'll leave the artist title to his good friend Anish Giri. Vidit doesn't want any part of that. He doesn't want to draw 13 games like Anish did in 14 in the candidates. But for Vidit, this is really Vidit Gujrathi 2.0. Many of the top players have talked about his 2023, where even before he won the Grand Swiss and the Isle of Man to earn his way into the candidates tournament, in the World Cup, he made the quarterfinals for a second time in a row. He knocked Jan Nepomniachtchi out of that tournament before himself bowing out to Nija Abbasov, and that was a huge disappointment for Vidit. He knew that getting into the semifinals would have stamped his ticket to the candidates. He lost to a lower-rated player who was having the tournament of his life. It hurt him. It truly did. I'm friends with him. That was another so close, yet still so far moment in a history, in a career of those types of moments. So to see him break through in 2023 was great as a friend of his, but also for the nation of India.
It's a big threat, though.
It is. Rook c2 has a huge threat against the white king and the pawn on g2 behind it. But I like your rook b6 check move because it is move 40. If the black king tries to run away, you can always check it back. But then the black king may even get into d4. So there is a reason for Vidit to be concerned. And he's down to 10 seconds for his last move. What's he going to do? He brings his king forward to e3.
Okay, clever move. I think classy move from Vidit there in the end. Firstly, he's stopping your king march, the black king running forward, Robert. But secondly, he's evading any checks. The black rook cannot land a check now. The white king will be super safe, hiding on f4 if need be. And he's also supporting potential pawn pushes. White might even play f4 himself. This might just be game over, but what an angle. We might well see Firouzja with those two kings staring down at him resign over the next couple of moves.
Only one king stands tall, and it is Vidit Gujrathi right now as he stares down the black king, hoping to checkmate it soon. Firouzja looks at his clock, and he gets his move off with just a couple seconds remaining. Unfortunately for him, I think that walks into the easy pawn push, kicking the knight away. The knight can give one check here or there, but the white king will escape. g6 will undoubtedly drop, and that should be game over. So for Firouzja, he knows that Vidit has outcalculated him earlier in the game, and it was a knight sacrifice that was justified, but it was followed up in an incorrect manner, and that is what caused Alireza this trouble.
Yeah, we saw it a moment ago. His accuracy was still very high, 89-point-something%, but it was just one big error and hard to come back from. This is where chess is unique compared to other sports. Sometimes one error is enough to end the game. No matter how hard you work, no matter how hard you grind afterwards, you never quite got back in it. And the rollercoaster tournament for Firouzja continues. This will be yet another decisive result for him, and unfortunately not in his favour today. Vidit is away from the board right now. We see Firouzja going through the pain, going through the stages of denial, and yeah, I think we'll see resignation any moment. So Robert, should we go check on some of the other games that have reached the tie control now?
Let's do it. Alireza Firouzja, we'll keep an eye on him and his decision when to throw in the towel or not. But as we look across the other games, Praggnanandhaa versus Van Forst was a draw at the second from the right on that bottom row there. We didn't look at the final position, but it seems like some pieces were traded and then piece was signed. It was an offer rather than a repetition, and it's because Jordan's pieces finally had room to breathe. We can look at that in more detail later, but I see Yapamshi. His game is still going, and what are we looking at in the top left in that